Thank you very much, and to each and every one of you here, thank you for being here today. And I think it's a great crowd. I like to see people hanging out outside the door, but this is where it starts. And Betsy, I want to say thank you to you, your group, and every other group. When Betsy and I talked back in September, October, I said my title would be, Where's the Outrage? Yes, you're the good guys. And you know, I'd say politically, probably on 10 issues, you wouldn't agree with me on any but one. But that one is why we're here today. And we must let this be the little fire that starts a big fire. Because this country does not declare war anymore. We just pass a resolution, whether it be a Democratic president or a Republican president, and just let them go. Well, the pain of letting them go is this. This family just represents thousands and thousands of wounded from Afghanistan and Iraq. I regretted my mistake of accepting the misinformation given by the previous administration. I think it was intentionally manipulated, and I was not smart enough to see it. So I contacted a Marine general, retired, former commandant in the Marine Corps 3 years ago. I said, General, I made a horrible mistake on my vote to send our troops to Iraq. I don't want to make another mistake on Afghanistan. Will you advise me? He said, yes, on one condition, that publicly you do not use my name. For this reason, active duty generals don't care what retired generals think. So I have done that. But I want to share this with you to get back to the poster before I conclude. Recently, a group of us in both parties has sent a letter to Secretary Michelle Fontenoy, who's well respected, let me make that clear, but carrying the message for the administration with no absolute, that's the key word, absolute end to this involvement in Afghanistan. So I sent the copy of the, emailed the copy of the letter to the general and asking for his comments. Well, the comments are 2 paragraphs, but I'm just going to read a few sentences to you today. Attempting to find a true military and political answer to the problems in Afghanistan would take decades, not years, and drain our nation of precious resources, with the most precious being our sons and daughters. Simply put, the United States cannot solve the Afghan problem, no matter how brave and determined our troops are. We need to bring our people home and prepare for the real danger that is growing in the Pacific. I have a Marine fellow on my staff who has been to Afghanistan. He's a young captain, graduate of Annapolis. And he shared with me last week a friend of his who he has served with. A Marine is what they call a Village Stability Operations, VSO team leader. And he emailed the young captain on my staff, and part of his email I want to share with you today. If you ask me if it is worth a single American life to build governance here in Afghanistan, I would have to say no. This is what Matthew's saying. The people on the ground are saying, we have done all we can do. History has proven you will never change Afghanistan. The initial reason for going into Afghanistan was to get bin Laden, who was responsible for 9/11, and Al-Qaeda. Well, I think Mr. Obama, when he got bin Laden, should have declared victory. Now, my concern is, you'll hear this from others today, in particular, I won't be here for the question and answers. I have to leave shortly after I finish. Our concern is that too many times administrations will say the date we're coming home is a year from now, 18 months from now, 24 months from now, and we, the American people, just accept it. Well, that sounds pretty good. You know, we've been up there 11 years, and we're just going to be there one more year? Bull. You can't trust any of them. I'm talking about both parties. When it comes to foreign policy, as Matthew said, Eisenhower said it best, beware of the military-industrial complex. They make money during wars in both parties. My friends here today, Brad and David, would tell you the same thing. We survive on fundraisers in Washington. Both parties are guilty of this. And yet, if you got the industrial complex making money, they're going to find more checks to write. We need to change that system, but I'm not here to sell that today. But we need to change that system. Please, when you leave today, don't let it end today. My last story. Corey Kent from Florida. I've been going to Walter Reed in Bethesda. Now they've consolidated. It's Walter Reed at Bethesda, but this is when we had 2 hospitals. This was 2 years ago. I've been going for 10 years because I made a mistake in voting to go into Iraq. But for 10 years, I never had anyone that escorted me to visit the wounded to tell me this. And Major Mack said, before you go in this room, you need to know that this young Army private has no body parts below his waist. There is nothing below his waist. And when I went in, I saw the mother. As I've seen many parents and wives, and their faces, always look in the face because it tells you everything. The young mother had the look of an old woman. And I understand why. What will Corey's life be with half a body? I've seen now 4 young Marines and soldiers who have nothing below their waist. It's a half a body. I had an admiral in my office 2 weeks ago with a Marine general talk about some issues involving Camp Lejeune down in the 3rd District. And I brought it up, how are we going to pay when that tsunami hits of $6 to $7 trillion to take care of our veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq? Where are we going to get the money from? They've earned it. They deserve it. And as we were talking about the cost with the admiral and the general, I mentioned the 4 kids without body parts below the waist. The admiral told me, he said, Congressman, just 3 weeks ago I saw a young man that has no arms or legs. We do not understand the cost of war. Never again should we send our young men and women to fight unless we declare war, which the Constitution says. Thank you again for what you're doing in your neighborhoods, your churches. Please beat this drum louder and louder, because those of us in Washington are concerned that 2013 will slip to 2014 or longer. We cannot afford it. It's not fair to our young men and women. It is time to have a defense, not an empire builder around the world. Close by asking God to please bless our men and women in uniform. I ask God in His loving arms to hold the families who've given a child dying for freedom in Afghanistan and Iraq. I ask God to bless you and the efforts that you're trying to do to wake up America before it's too late. I ask God to bless the House and Senate, that we will do what is right in the eyes of God. I ask God to bless President Obama, that he will do what is right in the eyes of God. And I will ask 3 times, God please, God please, God, please continue to bless America. Thank you.